engine that GM condemned, and we're gonna figure out why it was. This is a 6.2 liter or L87 engine. They did a pico test on it, which is basically like a vibration or frequency test, and it didn't meet the standards that they wanted, so they trashed it. We collected it. You can see here, these intake ports, it is direct injection, but everything looks clean. Apparently really no miles on it. Mikkel and I are gonna mount this up. When we get to a certain point, we're gonna grab my dad and see what he thinks. Was supposedly still okay, but just not okay enough. These engines are notorious for being junk. Let's get to it and figure out why. Let's keep everything super organized. I don't care too much about the coil, like
for sure,
the accessories don't matter, but I want to keep everything in specific order.
Yeah.
The pistons will match location. I mean, we'll look at rings. Let's be really thorough with this to see. I would assume that maybe 90+% of this is fine.
Yeah.
So we just got to find the 1%.
That's right. Let's get to it.
Isn't this the motor with the RA surface finish on the crank that's bad?
So this is the same L87 that has cost GM, I don't know how many millions upon millions
it's $1 billion of dollars or something like that.
So yeah, I'm curious to see if that's all
Don't we have 2 of these?
Yep, we're already building one as a core.
Yeah. We do have oil if you do want to see any of that. That whole pan seems like it's full. It's like new oil. It's the faintest amount of like shimmer, but learned from last time from you guys that that's just kind of break in. We're not seeing like huge chunks or anything like that. Just some silicone. I don't see big chunks. Okay. It is really dark down there.
It sure does not look fantastic.
Yeah, that is definitely not from me pulling off the recover.
No, I mean, it's all kind of up here on the front too. I don't like it. But why is it there?
Yeah.
Oh, that is thick. All of this is really, really gritty. We're getting into the real meat and potatoes here. So we're gonna pause, get Dave in on this tomorrow. We'll let you guys know what we find in the morning.
The next day.
All right, so we're picking back up on this engine, the L87, to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so I was looking over some of the stuff we took out last night, and usually when I see a rotor like this, it's way more polished. You know, this looks like it's kind of just been through the ringer. It's not flat or anything, but it's definitely not polished like I normally see on a...
Yeah, the surface is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the oil pan, and now that the oil has kind of just like settled, look at all that sediment. Like,
whoa.
So thick. Obviously not good for an engine.
Wow.
I was looking up, you know, what the recall basically goes over, and one of the big issues is sediment in the engine, which we can definitely see sediment. And then they talk about, like where you were saying, the finish on the crank. So it says primarily it affects like the crank, push rods, and connecting rods is where the problem, at least what they're finding. And then I was reading that like 2 days ago, some articles were coming out that even past the recall, like parameters 17 or whatever it is, they're also having issues. So in general, their machining or whatever they're doing when they're building these motors, something's going wrong. Like it's definitely affecting hundreds of thousands of motors.
I did think the wear on the tip of these valves is really interesting. Some is really sharp.
And you know, I'm not seeing that like mirrored wear, like this is the rocker from this one. I'm not really seeing that wear on the rocker side, but definitely, you know, for basically having no miles on it, you would think that all of this would look nearly perfect, and it's not perfect like you would think.
It'll be, I'm a little bit nervous to see what we're gonna find more.
Me too.
If anything, because I mean, this has really no runtime on it.
Yeah.
And so the wear, whatever is starting to fail, may not be very visible.
Yeah.
You know, could there be something that was just put in incorrectly? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would agree even here, like these rollers, I'm used to seeing a lot more of a polished finish.
Yeah.
Really small amount of debris there. Next set. I'm interested kind of tearing that apart and seeing what that looks like. That rotates pretty smooth. If you want to do the honors of tearing that open, you got a T30 right there. I'll take off number one first, actually.
I had a lot of crap go through it. Oh yeah, and grab it with my fingernail. That's gnarly.
And we just barely tore down a Cummins with like 400,000 miles, and it had nothing like that.
Right.
There it goes.
Yeah, tons of that little pitting, and then big score marks.
Number 2 bearing.
Not happy either.
No. Sweet.
Yeah, that looks bad.
Here's our cat. Number 3.
Oh boy, this thing had some junk run through it.
Yeah, really. best one yet.
Yeah. Dude, either you're just showing off at how strong you are.
Oh, there was something catching on this side. I mean, I feel like I'm putting the same force this way as I am this way, and the, I guess, driver's side just feels a little stiffer, a little tighter, I should say. A little more worn. I don't see anything funny. Okay, so here's our number 7 broadside. I don't see anything weird with the chain. Yeah, you can
Look at
see
that surface. Why does that look so weird?
Yeah, it is. That again, it's like, you know, I'm looking for a mirror finish, and that looks like not quite a mirror finish.
Looks really rigid or choppy.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, trying to analyze this with no miles.
Now this setup's a little caveman with a C-clamp and a profilometer, but it works, so it's what I got. So what this does is it has a little tiny micro tip on the end of this pointer, and it's just going to move across this surface, and it'll find all the peaks and valleys. And it doesn't move very much. You can see it just travels along, and on this screen it picks up all those little bumps and then turns them into an RA reading. Wow. So both the factory cranks we tested are smoother than this aftermarket one that we just got in. I don't know if that's because they've ran and maybe smoothed over a little bit, but it's interesting.
All right, so I'm trying to get on the phone with a few different people. So I'm gonna call Chuck Lynch, one of the lead guys at AERA, Automotive Engine Rebuilders Association. Crazy knowledgeable. So we'll see if he has any insight. This is such a new thing with this L87. Let's pick his brain. Hey, Chuck, this is Miles down here at Dave's Auto in Utah. How are you?
Good. What's going on, Miles?
Hey, I'm really just calling to pick your brain. If you had time for a question on the GM L87 engine, I just had some questions for you.
Oh, sure.
We've got two, though, now in our possession that failed a pico test. If you've heard about those that GM's doing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have like the test results. I don't have anything but the engine. We're tearing it down. We really have not found much of anything on these. As we're inspecting this, I'm just trying to pick somebody's brain like yourself to know if there's anything in particular that we should be looking for or testing for. I just am not seeing anything crazy obvious besides debris, and maybe that's it.
You guys have a profilometer you can measure on crankshafts?
So we have done a profilometer test on one of the journals, I think just a raw journal.
RZ is a good indicator. So if you were to measure the RZ and say, so it's usually the rule's kind of like 6 times. If it goes more than 6 times the RA, you're starting to get a out of control finish. So if you were to, you get 5, so you wouldn't want to see the RZ more than about 30. That's definitely something to look at.
Awesome, Chuck. Well, you're always so knowledgeable. I appreciate it. I'll send you some pictures and see if I'll look at stuff like that, and if I see anything weird or not, I'll send you pictures either way so I can get your thoughts on it.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chuck. So as you saw before, Cole and I set up just a unit where we clamped a Mitutoyo device to get the RA finish on the crankshaft. Just wasn't ideal. But after speaking with Chuck, we wanted to do something more precise. We'd used a different Mitutoyo device, and we used Mark Malberg's TraceBoss technology. With Chuck's advice, we wanted to get not only the RA reading, but also the RZ reading as well. So the numbers that you're gonna see now, we didn't show the whole setup, but we're showing you the numbers of more precise measurements with the TraceBoss technology. A big shout out to Mark Malberg. This is his TraceBoss technology paired with Mitutoyo. So tell me what we're seeing here.
Okay, so what we're looking at is our relationship from our RA, which is our roughness average. So it takes the average of all these peaks and valleys, versus our RZ, which takes our 5 highest peaks and our 5 deepest valleys.
Okay.
So it kind of gets rid of the medians and just takes the extremes.
Okay.
And then we're looking at them. These are micro inches, so that's 4 millionths of an inch. That's 41 millionths of an inch.
Okay.
For difference, and you want to see your RZ pretty close to your RA, about, I think it's like 6 times RZ to RA.
Okay.
And right now we're seeing about 10 on these factory cranks. I'm seeing about 5 on this aftermarket one.
So your RZ on the Manly is only about 5 times.
It's 5
the
times the RA versus the factory ones. It's about 10. So it's about double.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And it's kind of odd because these, I'm getting a smoother RA on the factory cranks.
Okay.
So just looking at them, the RZ looks a lot smaller just because the RA is a lot smoother.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just because they've been ran or maybe they polish them a little bit. And it's consistent with the 2 factory ones. They're both 10 over. I'm getting similar RAs, similar RZs.
Right.
And in the Manly, I measured a couple rods and a couple mains, and it's consistently like 4 to 5.
Dude, this is juicy information.
Yep.
Freaking love this. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that's a big no-no, huge concern. From what Chuck Lynch was saying, if your RZ is 6 times your RA, that's basically the limit. But if you're over that, you're bad. Why is that bad?
Kind of hard because it's basically like just micro scratches and like micro burrs on the crank is how I kind of look at it.
Okay.
Or how I think about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like it'd be an interesting thing to actually measure is to get like a freshly ground crank and measure that and see where it is.
Right.
Because we can still get a smooth RA, but our peaks and valleys might be.
You might have some major peaks and
major
really deep valleys, yeah.
A few minutes later.
So this is ground, this is a 6.7 power stroke. So it's gonna be a little bit different just being a diesel crank. They're a little bit harder on the journals. But looking at our relationship from our RZ to our RA, it's got about 9 times. And if we look and compare that to our factory crank, even though our RA is smoother, we're about 10 times. So our relationship from our RA to RZ is similar to a ground crank, unpolished.
And the polish should help get some of those high peaks.
Yeah. So you look at our peaks, they're 4 on this.
Yeah.
And then if we open our ground polished one, we're 5. So our peaks are similar, but you can see our relationship from RA to RZ is a lot better. Instead of being 10, it's now 7.5.
Right. So I wonder what they're doing from the factory. Are they just kind of grinding them, and there's something in, there's something in their process that they're just, what are they doing different on the L87 that they didn't do, or that they were doing on the other engines that they're not doing on this?
Yeah, just because our peaks are really similar from our ground crank to our L87 crank.
Right. Interesting.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. This is good data, dude.
Yeah,
Really nice job.
Definitely an interesting thing something I haven't dove into before. So it's
right. These little dovetail chamfers, if that's the right term, it can be good for adding extra oil to the bearing surface.
Yeah, to the rod bearing, because your mains feed your rod. So you're doing this to feed your rod bearing for longer, because you're basically getting to that oil hole just a couple degrees sooner instead of just feeding just when that hole's on it.
Okay. Now, something we noticed here on the L87s is they've got huge chamfers.
Yeah, and on the rod side, which isn't really necessary. You kind of just want to, like this mainly has, you just want to break that edge so it's not sharp, not going to be a stress riser.
Right.
But with these, that's going to allow oil to bleed out more.
And this is part of the speculation, which I hate doing, but we're trying to theorize something here. That could be why GM said, hey, go from a thinner oil to thicker oil.
Yeah.
Because we've got micro scratches essentially on the surface.
Yep.
But on top of that, we're bleeding off because we've got fat chamfers here on the rod bearing surface.
It'd be interesting too to measure how much of our rod bearing covers this chamfer, how close it gets to the edges of the rod bearing. Because if it's right next to one edge, it's really just going to squirt out that side, and it's going to take the path of least resistance.
Let's measure. You want to measure?
Let's do it.
Okay, so these are the ones.
Yeah, these are the ones out of the motor. Bearings are still exactly where they were. I haven't touched them besides taking them off the pistons.
Okay, beautiful.
Yep.
Why does all this matter? Why do these fine details make a difference? This surface finish issue, these issues with these L87s, has affected nearly 900,000 vehicles currently that we're aware of. We'll link in the description the NHTSA, or the National Highway and Traffic Safety recall that does this, so anybody out there that has an L87 can have quick access to that information. But this simple surface finish, or these simple issues with maybe chamfers, surface finish, whatever we're finding here, is important because these small details have not only affected 900,000 vehicles, but it's nearly cost GM $1 billion+ because of a simple mistake. That's why I love doing this and working with these smart people here that we have at the shop, is because all of these details matter. It's not about we're not just machining things and throwing parts together and hoping that it works. These guys' attention to detail and the details that need to be paid attention to are so important. So we're still getting some more juicy information. This is why it's exciting. All right, Cole, now is a good time for me to ask you your feelings on Plastigauge.
Better than nothing.
But that's not the true way to do it.
No, it's a good roughness indicator, get you really close, but you're not going to be able to check like taper out around.
Yeah.
Any of the stuff you'd want to be able to check. Your holes are pretty round, pretty straight. So this is probably going to look weird because I'm not going to set this to 0. I'm going to set it to my 1, just because these rod bearings have more than 2 thou clearance, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's about 2.4 on number 1. Yeah, 2.4, 2.5. It's right in between. So they're both 2.5 thousandths of oil clearance on our rods, on our number 1 and 2 rod, which is perfectly fine to me, at least. That seems reasonable. If you follow the rule of thumb of 1 thou clearance per every inch of journal, it's a 2/100 journal, so they should have at minimum 2.1 thou of oil clearance, and these are a little bit over, which is never a bad thing. But it's not excessively over or excessively tight.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna see if potentially, based on width, could we have bleed out, and then we'll also compare with the manly crank to see, do we have a concern there or not? Does it just look weird? But it's a big chamfer.
About a 400 thou chamfer. Looks like. It's big.
That's way big.
So almost half the bearing is oil hole on that section.
So with basically end to end of the chamfer hole on the factory L87 crank is 400 thou.
Yep.
What about on the manly crank?
About 300.
So 100 thou.
100 thousandths the difference.
Smaller.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a big deal when it comes to anything about oil.
That's a lot more.
Yep.
I want to throw this out there before people start getting their panties in a bundle too, is we are not sponsored by Manly. I don't even think they know that we're doing this video.
No.
We just have this crank because we're building a performance engine off an L87 platform, and so we just have a test subject.
Figured it was a good comparison at least.
Yeah, these are big numbers.
Yeah.
Are they big enough to ruin an engine?
That's the question.
Yeah. We're collecting all of this data, everybody. We're going to get Dave here, so keep this set up. Get the findings that Cole has found here on these things. And then anybody else that can compile and collaborate with these findings, we're very interested, because this is a massive failure engine. We want to know why. Here's our data. Share yours. Okay, so I want you to challenge our findings, is really what I'm after. The L87, yeah. The L87 is...
Oh, the ones that got 0 miles on them? The Pico failure, I guess we'll call it?
Correct. So from my understanding, about 900,000 vehicles have been affected, and it's cost GM over $1 billion.
Right.
There's really nothing out there saying why these are seeing failures. So we're trying to find out with 2 basically fresh engines that were condemned why they're failing. And Cole and I and some of the other guys have found some interesting things. We're wondering if it's interesting enough, on your opinion, to contribute to the failure. What a lot of people are seeing, and what some of the comments we've gotten on some videos, are that they're spinning a lot of rod bearings. Here's the engine. Now, we did find the engine was open to some elements
Before, during shipping to us?
Yeah, and then, so I don't know, but just the intake ports are open. But we do have a lot of, the intake ports on the heads looked great. I mean, it didn't seem like it was really affected, and it was wrapped. But
Yeah, what's all this like mud looking
Don't
crap
know.
in here?
not, the top of the pistons, stuff looked fine.
Well, it's... Huh.
And then the oil pan, look down there.
Yeah. It actually feels kind of gritty, doesn't it?
Yeah, the rods, there's some that are
That
worse.
ain't... Huh. That's kind of interesting. How you have this, you know, huh.
There's definitely,
What this is here is, this is like contact. This is like loss of oil pressure. And it's kind of like a wave. When you see that on a bearing, that's like a wave. If you'll think of like at the beach, a wave goes like this. And then behind the wave, there's a trough behind the wave. It actually gets lower. And then the next wave comes in. So the water level's not here. The water level drops behind the wave. And that's what causes this. This is a sign that the oil pressure has got that wave in it when you have that kind of a ghosting on the bearing. Yeah, all these bearings have it. There's another one. Same thing. Those are pressure differentials in the oil pressure. If you look at it, it actually looks like waves coming in on a set if you're going to go surfing. And those are wave pressures. And the difference is that's a loss of pressure there. That's the low side of that wave, and where it's still the bearing is like where the wave comes up, the pressure side of that wave. So let me see the crank.
so the cranks are over here.
Okay, the first thing you see here, look at the Manly crank. You see how they've chamfered that just a little bit here? Enough that you're not gonna grab a sharp edge. That's how it ought to be done. Manly, They know what they're doing when they make a crank. This GM crank, they've taken a lot of material off of this.
That's a fat chamfer.
That's a fat chamfer. Have we measured the RA on this compared to the Manley? Okay, these are the figures we're after. This is a micron scale, so it's a microscopic level of what the surface finish looks like on that crank. Now I know everybody looks at that and they're like, you mean a surface finish? It's not as smooth as glass. Even glass is not smooth. You might think it is, to your eye it is, but it's not. So we're at a microscopic level here. RPK, so that would be the peak, and as you can see here, the peak is really not a lot of peaks. The valley, there's some valleys in there, and this is the same on a cylinder wall or on a bearing journal on a crankshaft. The cylinder wall has to have more valleys because you want to retain oil so you don't wear out your rings, but you don't want too many valleys or the thing will be an oil burner. But the one that's a concern here, right, Miles, is this.
The RZ?
The RZ. That RZ is an average of your 5 highest and 5 lowest.
That should be about 6 times your RA.
Max.
Okay, so it should be, well, 6 times it'd be 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And that would make sense. Why do some waves, just a nice wave, just boom, one wave comes up like this and it's perfect? You know, the perfect surf wave is because there's only one peak underneath the ocean and there's one valley. And so as the pressure of that wave hits that, it just goes and it puts it up. But if the bottom is like this, what do the waves do? They suck. And it shows it on the rod bearing. The rod bearing is a perfect example of I have too many peaks and too many valleys within a certain amount of space. And my surf wave sucks.
Yeah, I feel like you're taking us back to your Florida days.
I'm just saying that's probably what's wrong here. I don't think it's the finish.
Well, what about the chamfer too? Wouldn't that just exaggerate?
Well, that's probably, yeah. You know, I think you're probably bleeding off. It's like silicone. If a little bit of silicone is good, a lot's got to be better. No. Same way with your chamfering. If a little bit of chamfer is good, let's just make a big old. Let's make a big old chamfer. No. Your wave of the oil pressure wave, you want that to stay ramped up. You don't want it to fall off. It comes out of that hole, and if you have all these, if you don't have that sharp edge where that wave can just come up like that and stay up there, it just kind of flattens out. I am so hoping that there is a GM engineer that's watching this and it's going to teach me something, or somebody that knows more than me about this. It's going to teach me something, because I think I'm right. Do I know I'm right? I know I could learn more. This is definitely a video I'll be reading comments on.